my name's Paige. Welcome to my channel. As you've probably already seen, a tag has emerged on BookTube called the Mid-Year Book Freak Out tag. Basically, it's a series of 13 questions which ask me how I feel about certain books that I read this year. It's basically like a mid-year book award show featuring me. Today I have some snacks with me because I don't know how long this video is going to last and I'm hungry. I've got with me some raspberry tea in Spider-Man's face because I haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home yet, even though I've wanted to see it since it came out. So we're just gonna bring Spidey along with us today to make me feel better about that fact. I also have some really interesting grapes. So I've been coveting these grapes for like a year now, and I finally got some thanks to my aunt. But basically they are cotton candy flavored grapes. Like literally they are grown to taste like cotton candy. So I am going to be eating these. It's kind of like a weird mixture of like cotton candy and grape flavor. So it's good. It's just like not completely cotton candy grapes, you know. Anyway, we got 13 questions to get through today, so let's get started. The first question asks me the best book I've read so far in 2019, and I thought about this for a little while because, I mean, I have read a few good books. I mean, all the books I've read got, I think, at least 3 stars, so I haven't read anything absolutely miserable this year. But I decided that my favorite book thus far has to be The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Even having read it at like the beginning of the year, I have the same amount of excitement now talking about it. It's just a fabulous book. It's beautifully but simply written. I'm so glad that I found Madeline Miller through this book. I think what I loved most about this book was the characters. The plot wasn't extremely new to me. I mean, it's a retelling of Greek mythology, but I really enjoyed how flawed but beautiful the characters were, and the love story in this is absolutely heartbreaking, and it's just amazing. So if you haven't checked this book out yet, or haven't checked out Madeline Miller yet, I highly suggest giving her a shot. I mean, she's really, truly incredible. The next question is the best sequel I've read so far. When I was looking at the books I've read so far in 2019, I realized that I actually haven't read many sequels at all. I've started a lot of series, but actually haven't read the sequels too much. However, there were a couple to choose from, and I decided that my favorite was God's Grave by Jay Kristoff. This is the second book in the Nevernight series, and I thoroughly enjoyed the first book, so I had pretty high hopes that I would really enjoy the second book. It did a really good job of expanding the world, broadening Mia's character and her sexuality, and honestly, I just really liked it because it's crazy. I mean, Jay Kristoff, I'm pretty sure, is a little bit crazy, and I think that this book lived up to that adjective. It really did. So anyway, yeah, great sequel. I'm excited to finish the series. Good job, Jay Kristoff. So the next question asks a new release that I've wanted to read but haven't got to yet. There are a few answers to this question, no surprise, but most recently and with the most intensity, I've discovered that I really want to read Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro. I'm extremely excited about this book. The movie has always been one of my favorite horror fantasy movies. I talked about that a little bit in my book shopping vlog where I went to Ollie's in Barnes & Noble because I saw it there for the first time. I didn't even know it came out, which, what a fan I am, but I saw it, I was extremely excited about it, almost bought it, and then decided that I needed to chill. Sometimes you have to control your book buying urges, you know. Not even sure how closely the story of the book resembles the plot of the movie, but anything that is even slightly inspired by that movie, I will read. Absolutely. So once I finish the Scorpio races by Maggie Seafader for that challenge that I did with Emily, then I will be glad to finally read Pan's Labyrinth. Just to mention a couple other new releases that I do want to get to, I am really excited to read King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I have it, as you can see, it's up there, all gold and beautiful. And I'm also looking forward to reading A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I actually didn't really know that much about this book, and then I saw a few booktubers talking about it. I looked a little bit more into it, and I'm actually really excited about this book. I really have a soft spot for Beauty and the Beast kind of retellings. That's why I got into ACOTAR, not technically why I stayed with it, but that's what got me into it. All the reviews that I've seen of it seem to be really good, or at least pretty good, which, hey, that's good enough for me. And so I'm gonna pick that up probably soon and hopefully read it just as soon. The next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have to be honest, 2019 is going to be a ridiculous year for my wallet and for my eyes because I want to read so many books. And it's not just about the books that I have or that I've been wanting to read that I'm going to read this year. It's about the books that are coming out this year. This year is a phenomenal year for book releases. Just a few that I can list off the top of my head. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which got a review from Stephen King. A fantasy novel got a review from Stephen King as being miraculous, which doesn't surprise me because Leigh Bardugo is like the queen of YA fantasy. But Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, I loved Carry On. I loved it so much, and when I found out that there was going to be a sequel, I literally was all over it. I was all over it, and the cover is so incredible. It's so great. And I think Waterstones is selling Wayward Son with printed pages, like painted pages, the edges, this thing, you know what I mean. And it's like in a floral design, not even like red or black pages like Six of Crows. No, like a floral design. So I have to figure out how I'm going to get my hands on that because I really, really need it. I really love Carry On. Okay, that's just, oh my god. Anyway, then of course Dark Dawn is coming out, the last book in the Nevernight series by J. Kristoff. I need to read that because of course I enjoyed both the other two books. 5 stars for both of them. And of course there are so many others that I just haven't mentioned at this current moment that I want to read that are coming out probably in the next few months. But anyway, I think that the #1 book that is coming out in 2019, or you know, the other half of 2019, is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. Every time Maggie Stiefvater posts a sneak peek of this book, I literally die inside because I don't have it in my hands yet. It actually hasn't been that long since I read the Raven Cycle for the first time. I read it last year. I was obsessed with that series. Like, I'm still obsessed with the series, but like, when I was reading it, I was literally in the mindset of like, I want to go to Wales. I want to find the Welsh king. Like, that series has a way of making you like kind of insane. So if I had to choose one, my most anticipated read, it would be that one. The next question is the biggest disappointment that I read in 2019 so far. If you've been keeping up with my videos, probably like any of the book related videos, you know what the answer for this question is going to be. And it is The Mister by E.L. James. I felt kind of weird using this book as an answer to this question because it wasn't, I mean, it was disappointing. I mean, it was the worst book I've read so far this year, but I knew that I wasn't going to love it. Like, I knew that I wasn't going to freak out about it when I got it. I thought to myself, hey, I think she's probably developed as a writer, and I want to read a book set in London that's nice and romantic. I don't know. And it was just awful. It was just the worst. I can't even believe I finished it. It's kind of one of those books that you finish because it's bad. Like, you just want to see, like, does it ever redeem itself? Is it ever okay? And it never was. So it's just, it wins. Biggest disappointment. It wins. Yeah. Anyway, the next question is the biggest surprise of 2019. I'm assuming biggest pleasant surprise. So was Night by Elie Wiesel. This was one of the books that I read for school. It was for a history course where we were kind of briefly covering the Holocaust, and I was assigned to read this book. This book, being a nonfiction book, being, you know, written by a person who went through all of this themselves, really was impressive. I enjoyed it so much, and it's so short, so it didn't take me long to read it all, and by the time I was done, honestly, I had to recover from this book. It was so good. So yeah, that was the biggest surprise of 2019, I think, because it was an assigned reading for school, for class, and I automatically have a prejudice against those kind of books, so this was a very pleasant surprise. Okay, the next question is my favorite new author so far. This one was a little bit hard because I've actually discovered a few new authors that I've really enjoyed, but I'm going to answer with J. Kristoff. I really do enjoy Madeline Miller, but I don't think she's going to be an author where I'll read anything she writes. Like, I think I'll read what she writes as far as mythology retellings. But as far as Jay Kristoff is concerned, I am willing and ready to read anything he writes. I'm just excited to see anything from him in the future and to keep reading more of his content because it's amazing. His sense of humor is the best. I also think I just like him as a person, like as an online entity. His Twitter, Instagram, social media in general is hilarious to be a part of because he posts negative reviews of his books and basically makes fun of them, and it's just hilarious. I'm really glad I discovered him this year, so yeah. Okay, moving on. The next question asks me my newest fictional crush. So I have to be honest, when I was looking through the books I've read so far, I couldn't really get like a solid person that I thought, wow, I really like have a crush on them, whoa. And keep in mind, with me saying that, like, I have a crush on everybody. Every book character I have a crush on. The year I found Sarah J. Maas, it was a mess for me because every character she writes, I'm like, yeah, crush on that. Crush on him. Her. Everybody. But as I was looking through, I couldn't really think of anybody that I was like, yeah, love them. However, for the sake of answering the question, I did kind of have an infatuation with Frost, or like the Frost demon, you know, the guy in The Bear and the Nightingale. He doesn't actually show up that often. He shows up more towards the end, and I have the feeling that he probably shows up more in the other books in this series, but I did really enjoy him. I thought he was very mysterious, and I don't know, he had like a hidden warmth, hidden kindness to him that I really liked, and I want to kind of know more about. I'm not sure if I would call it a crush, but he seemed like the closest thing I could think of. Now the next question asks my newest favorite character, which was much harder to answer. So to help myself out, I limited this question to my newest favorite protagonist because there were just so many characters that I discovered this year that are now precious to me. And even limiting it to protagonists, I talked about loving a lot of female protagonists that I found this year, like the protagonist of The Bear and the Nightingale, Cersei, the coldest girl in Cold Town, surprisingly. But having thought about it as deeply as I can, I've decided that my favorite new character has to be Mia from Nevernight. She definitely takes the cake because she does the unexpected. She's a bad A, she keeps you invested, and maybe a little bit morally conflicted. I just found that a lot of the joy, or a lot of the entertainment I got from reading Nevernight stemmed from Mia herself, which in any good book, the protagonist should be someone who keeps you invested, keeps you interested, but Mia, come on, she does that like nobody's business. She always keeps you on your toes. It's a little bit ironic that I chose Jay Kristoff as my favorite new author and his character as my favorite new character, but hey. So moving on, the next question asks me a book that has made me cry so far. Like I talked about in my every book I've read so far in 2019 video, I did fully reread the Harry Potter series, which I do every other year. And every time I reread Harry Potter, this is why I do reread them, I discover something new, or I just remember something that has an impact on me. And while reading Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, I realized or remembered that the book is different from the movie in that Sirius gives the broom to Harry before any like Harry discovers that, you know, he wasn't the one that betrayed his parents and all of that. I'm pretty sure that in the movie Sirius Black doesn't mail the broom to Harry until the end when he's like already escaped, which is touching. Yeah, like that's a great scene and everything, but I forgot that in the book he gives it to him before like they even meet. And that little detail, combined with the fact that Jim Dale reading the part where Harry is practicing the Patronus charm with Lupin, yeah, I cried, yeah. Which was funny because it's not even the book where Sirius dies. I don't remember losing my crap when he actually does die, so I'm confused as to why I completely lost my mind in that book, but it happened, so we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna accept it. Tears needed to be shed. they did fall. But that's actually not the only book that made me cry this year. The other book, which is why it became my favorite book of 2019, was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So I didn't really give a spoiler warning for Harry Potter because it's just that series, but spoiler warning for here because I'm going to tell you what made me cry in this book. The ending. Okay? The ending. I was already like on the edge. I was already on that cliff when Patroclus died, okay? What destroyed me was the ending with Patroclus as a ghost bound to just wander the earth by this monument for Achilles, was talking to Achilles' mother, where he basically told her the story about how they fell in love and like his feelings and his life and like and you know, by the end of this, even though Achilles' mother and Patroclus have had really bad blood since the beginning, she goes ahead and writes Patroclus's name next to Achilles so that he can go to the, you know, underworld, the other world, to rest in peace because his name has been recognized. And oh, the ending when they reunite and there's a hug. Oh my gosh, it was the best thing ever. I cried like a baby. It's hilarious that 2 books so far, it's not even the whole year yet, 2 books have made me cry this like so far, and I don't even cry that often. So the next question is a book that made me happy. This was a hard one because almost all the books I've read, even though all of them have, you know, happy moments or just, you know, nice moments, they're all generally pretty sad, or at least just very action-packed, kind of like you don't really have time to joke around, you have to like save the world. That's the kind of books I've been reading, you know, so I haven't had a lot of time for happiness. But thinking about it, I decided that the happiest book I could think of was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. Even this book is pretty darn sad at certain points, but all in all, it's a very cute book, and it now houses like a book, I don't know. It houses one of my new favorite couples, because that was just an adorable relationship, and I really enjoyed it. Of course, there were some struggles to get through, some sad times, but I found myself smiling a lot of the time, you know? So at least there's that. There's a little bit of joy in this reading month. If you can see that shadow, that is my cat coming away. I'm not going to hold her for that long because she's probably more skittish than the last cat you saw. So I don't want to get clawed again because that will not be a reoccurring theme in my videos. But I just wanted to let you know that her name is Delby. Yes, like the house elf. And she is free, even though she doesn't wear clothes. So anyway, the next question is the most beautiful book that I bought this year. I honestly looked through and I don't think I bought a lot of really pretty books this year. I do really enjoy how King of Scars looks. It has a beautiful burnished gold finish and it just glints, and that's stunning, like really, really nice. I do enjoy some other covers, but meh. So the last question of this tag is, what books do I need to read by the end of 2019? This question is unfair. There are so many books that I need to read by the end of 2019. And there are so many books that I've been wanting to read for years that I haven't started yet, that I think about like every other day, and I'm like, I need to start that, and I haven't yet. There's so many books that I found just this year. The whole list that I gave you earlier. I need to read those, and I still haven't. But I thought about the books that I really have been pushing myself to read, and I haven't yet, and it would just be ridiculous if I didn't finish them by the end of this year. And I came up with a couple. I know that I need to read Crooked Kingdom, for example. I read Six of Crows a pretty decent amount of time ago. Thought it was incredible, thought it was amazing, and then I just never got to read Crooked Kingdom. There it sits on my shelf to remind me that I need to read it, but have I? No. So that needs to get read by the end of this year. I also want to read Horror Store. It's like a horror novel set in a place that's like IKEA that I've wanted to read for a very long time and I haven't. So I want to read that this year. I'm hoping to do it soon because I'm currently in the theme of reading, you know, horror, mystery, thriller, so I want to get that done while I'm in the mood for it. I also want to read Magic for Beginners by Kelly Link. This is a collection of short stories that I've had on my shelf for a very long time, that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, and haven't. So I think it's finally time that I get that done. Last but not least, I want to read Something by Haruki Murakami. I think he's going to be a challenge to read. From what I've heard, he's a very eccentric kind of writer, but I want to be a part of that. I want to read at least one of his books. So actually, I'm not sure which book to start with. I'm not sure like how to dive into his writing. So if you have any suggestions for if you've read any of his books and you know, hey, this was my favorite or this one was a good one to start off with, then comment below and let me know because I want to read him. Anyway, now that we're done talking about all the books that I want to read and haven't read yet, I probably will make a separate video about upcoming releases that I'm looking forward to reading, or just like my TBR for the rest of 2019, because I want to narrow it down for you, but I also want to narrow it down for me so that I can get moving with it. Anyway guys, so that's the end of this video and I hope you enjoyed it. It was really fun. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I post every Thursday and Saturday or Sunday, so you'll see new content from me pretty often, and I'm always happy to talk about books with you, whether you message me on one of my social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads, or if you comment below and want to talk about a book that I have read and you have read, then we can do that. We can talk about it. Alright, so I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you back here on Thursday. Bye!